today we are reviewing Marvel United. This is the latest from Cool Minis or Not. Came in a big old box while we were away on vacation. Robert brought it in for us. Didn't steal it, thankfully.
I was tempted.
It's got a ton of really cool little miniatures. Of course, by the name Cool Minis or Not, you would know.
Yeah, because it was the Kickstarter version.
It is the Kickstarter version of this game. And I can say immediately I'm going to be getting Vision painted somehow. I'm not sure exactly how yet, but I'm going to get him painted.
So you're going to have nothing else painted, just Vision?
I honestly don't care. Vision at minimum is going to be painted. The rest of
Scarlet Witch will be number 2.
Scarlet Witch would be the second one. Probably Moon Knight shortly thereafter would be my third. Well, Kang too. But as far as this stats, Rob.
So so on Board Game Geek it got a 7.5, which is pretty good rating. But designer is Andrea Cerveza, I believe, and then Eric Lane, who's pretty well known on the miniature side of Simon Games. Art is by Edward Golton. Retail for the retail version MSRP is $34.99, which is a pretty decent price because you get 7 heroes and 3 villains and everything that goes with it. But the Kickstarter version came out with substantially more stuff. And so I don't remember how much you spent on just the Kickstarter version, but there was a bunch of add-ons you could do too.
Oh yeah.
That's not including the add-ons. I mean, just the Kickstarter version alone comes with a box double that size of just more heroes and villains.
Yeah.
So the Kickstarter version of the base game is a lot better than the retail version.
These are all ones that Marvel had rights to at the time when they started, so there's no X-Men, no Fantastic Four.
But X-Men will be coming out.
But there's an X-Men set coming, now that they have the rights again. So if you enjoy the Spiderman series, or the Avengers, or Guardians of the Galaxy, Panther, any of the ones, pretty much any hero that's a major one you're going to be able to think of is going to be in it.
And it's a chibi style art, so some people that I talked to wasn't really thrilled about that style of art. I think it's okay looking. It's not too terribly big. Some chibi style, the head is like way too large, and it's not that bad.
Yeah.
So
I would have much rather they did a serious style, but whatever. It is. I would much rather.
I think for the game and the way it is and how light and easy it is, I think the chibi style is perfect for it.
All right. So as far as the quality of the components, these miniatures are really well made.
They really are.
They did a lot of time and care into the intricacies. I love that Wasp is standing on a dice or a die. That's really cool.
They're very detailed.
Yeah, they did a nice job on all the characters. Cardboard pieces, not so much. The cardboard is pretty lame. The cards are lame. I ordered with the Kickstarter the playmat. I'm glad I did. Otherwise, you just are dealing with cardboard.
And I think it would. I mean, it's a table hog with the mat. I couldn't imagine what it'd be like without it.
Well, yeah, because you're just going to have cards
just
lying everywhere.
All over the place.
So yeah, this organizes them well.
Yeah.
I would not want to play this without the mat. So I'm glad we ordered the mat. But as far as components, it's kind of another one of these Tale of Two Cities type games where you've got some really nice stuff and some really garbage stuff. I would say the cardboard components themselves are no better than most Kickstarters.
Probably.
And the cards
have
no texture.
I mean, the art on it, which ran its theme, but I mean, the art itself is nice, but the quality of the cardstock's not that great.
Yeah. So overall, what would you think on it?
I don't know. It's hard because, like you said, the minis are fantastic, and the cards they're not garbage, but they're not good either. I want to give it an 8 just because the minis are so cool. I think I'd give it a higher. It'd be much closer to a 10 if the cardstock was a higher quality, both for card and the cardboard.
Yeah. What do you think, Jonathan?
I'd say an 8 is probably reasonable.
I was thinking more 7 just because, probably it's personal bias because I don't like the chibis.
Right.
And I don't, I like them very well as far as the design and the quality of these components, but I just, apart from that, I'm not impressed with any of it. So yeah, I'm thinking more of a 7 on this one.
Okay.
As far as theme, obviously it's Marvel. So if you're into the comics, it's got the locations of the various comics. I like that they did more comic book locations than just forcing it into the MCU.
Yeah, like stills from the movies.
Yeah, they have the Avengers Mansion as a playable location and Avengers Tower, but Avengers Mansion was the more appropriate one for me. I'm still a mansion guy. I could even do Hydro Base, but they didn't have Hydro Base, but they got Tower in here. But yeah, I'm definitely an old school comics person as opposed to the movies locations. But they have, ones that you're going to recognize, and even if you aren't into the comics as much as the movies. So I like the look of it. It it makes a nice table presence. Certainly the Kickstarter version, I don't know if it would look nearly as well if you took the mat out of the picture and you had just the base components from the game. The figures we've already talked about, they look very thematic for the characters, assuming they were in a really cutesy Japanese universe, I guess. I don't know, but it's not something that's appealing to me. What do you think on theme?
I think theme, it's definitely not layered on, so I'm glad about that. It definitely feels like the Marvel Universe. Now, we'll talk about it in gameplay with some of the card actions aren't as thematic as I was hoping they'd be, but they are a little bit. I mean, like, I played the Hulk, and he definitely was more smashy than some of the other decks, but you didn't really, other than the art on the card, it didn't really feel like this was something that the Hulk would do. It didn't seem destructive enough. Maybe, although I did kill a couple civilians by accident.
You did,
so which was kind of
not
cool.
by accident.
No, you're right. I did totally on purpose. But I mean, it's just there could have been a little bit more theme. I mean, maybe if they just did flavor text on the cards, or some kind of verbiage on there instead of just straight artwork. I think it would have really pushed it over the top for theme. But I really do like the artwork, and I really like how it works well with the minis. I'm going to give it an 8.5.
What do you think, Jonathan?
As somebody who, I know the MCU and I don't necessarily know the comic book Marvel Universe, I liked all the locations and everything. I played as Venom, and that was kind of fun. He's the anti-hero, not necessarily a good guy, but he was. I enjoyed playing with him. He was. He had a few cool little moves that he could do, and I'd probably give it about an 8.
Yeah, I mean, I played Vision, of course, and I was, as usual, I'm disappointed in the portrayal of Vision, even in this, because he didn't have any punch, really. I mean, it was all about rescue, and very little attack.
Well, I mean, it'd be cool if it had some of his phase abilities.
Well, it did. It had intangibility, but it was to protect him till the next round from attack. But it's like, he's a powerhouse in the comics, guys. Get it right. He could take on Thor. He was up against Thor many times. Actually, the entire Avengers for a while. To go and treat him like he's basically not even attacking is kind of silly. So I was a little disappointed in their portrayal, but it seems like nobody gets Vision right. So they didn't kill him 3 times in a row.
That's true.
Show. So there's that.
You killed him a couple times. But...
I just KO'd him once, I think. Came real close the second time, thanks to Jonathan.
What did I do?
You almost died again, which almost took me out because I was in the same space as you.
True.
So, yeah, I'm again thematically. I just doesn't. It feels like it's lacking in the Marvel power. I mean, it has the art. It has. I mean, the art's good if you like that kind of art. It just doesn't give you the feeling of the magnitude. Like if you're playing Legendary, you feel it feels more Marvel than this does.
Right, I would agree with that.
So I'm gonna give this one a 7.5. I think.
Okay. So how about rules? That's a different conversation.
So the rules. This is. I mean, it's a pretty simple game, and that was one of our things we'll talk about in gameplay that is kind of a big negative in my eyes, but maybe some people like it, but I think they tried to appeal to the mass market, and I think that at the detriment of the game. But the rule book itself, it wasn't that it was hard to read. It's definitely not. The problem with the rules was that they're changing by characters. So the villains all play slightly differently, and there's tokens and icons that are kind of generic that mean different things depending on the villain you're playing with. With Kang, where we were playing, there was references to if your crisis or whatever your individual cards at each location, I think they're called crisis or something like that, had a bullseye symbol with an arrow on it, and whenever he lands in that location, it triggers this effect. None of the crisis cards had that symbol, so it was like, why is it even on his card? Because it doesn't matter. There's no crisis card to trigger in the entire game. You know, you put them all out. It wasn't a random shuffle of them. It was, we put them all out, and there were no crisis effects for him, and that was a little disappointing. The other things that we ran into were the actual crises themselves, these tokens that are these exclamation points. For Kang in particular, the only thing it did was it meant you couldn't trigger the end of round effects when you dealt with the crisis. And we really didn't need it. I mean,
right.
And so it really didn't affect anything. And it was like, there's no way to remove them. We didn't have there's only one of the buildings that lets you remove them that we had. But even if you had that building, why? Because it didn't affect the game at all. I mean, it wasn't that powerful of an ability and you didn't need it.
Why waste time?
Yeah. So it was like, just ignore the crises is basically what happened. So it's like, it seems like there should be some severe penalty for having crises stay in play. And there's nowhere in the book did it mention anything about the crises other than that they have certain villains to represent various nefarious. And that was kind of the whole gist of the whole book, was everything was based upon the scenario. And, you know, to have that big of a swing every time you put a new villain in, I think is problematic. There should be something that actually is relevant to those tokens.
Right. And if we miss something, please let us know in the comments, because I think that maybe we just didn't understand the whole target aspect of where he lands. Maybe we missed something there.
I hope that
I hope so. And and then maybe we missed something with the crisis, because it brought the game down a level as far as gameplay. And I know we haven't really got there yet, but it really did bring it down. So if we missed something in the rules, please let us know in the comments.
So I'm going to give it a 5 on the rulebook, because it wasn't horrible. I mean, it wasn't it wasn't. It felt like there were rules missing in the game. It wasn't the rulebook itself that was bad. It was just that when we're playing the game, it's like this. There's just nothing happening.
Mm-hmm. I didn't really read the rulebook, so I'm going to completely agree with that.
Yeah, I will too.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right, so moving on to gameplay. So the gameplay is pretty simple in this. There's icons on your cards, and you get 3 cards out of your deck. You shuffle your deck, you get 3 cards. You're either going to have icons that have stars on them, which are used to rescue bystanders or civilians, or you're going to use them to trigger, in some cases, like in the case of Kang, every one of the crisis cards had 3 of those on there. To remove the crisis, you need to play 3 of those symbols. There's also arrows that let you move around the board, so you can move from location to location to an adjacent location for each arrow. You had punches, so little red fists that punched, which I had very few of those, if any.
I had quite a few.
I had quite a few too. I had 7 of my cards.
I was rescuing bystanders the whole game and ending crises while they were punching people in the face. So those 3 icons are the big central things in the game. And then there's a wild symbol that just looks like a bunch of random squares.
Well, it's the colors that match the action. Yellow, red, and green.
To be honest, in the scenario that we played, it kind of helped. You know, we had 2 people getting rid of thugs, and because we had lots of civilians out there, lots of thugs. So, I mean...
Yeah. But that's all there is.
Right.
So you play a card, you trigger your card, and you trigger the card that was behind you for just the icons.
Right.
You don't get any special ability.
But that's still, I thought that was pretty cool. I like that you got your card plus the card previously played as far as the action. So It
felt
was
too
a
easy.
little. I agree. It was a little too easy. Maybe if there was another cost to be able to use that other card, would have been maybe a little bit more thematic.
It reminds me of the chaining in Legendary, but there you had to have the right icon to chain them.
Right.
This was just like, okay, I trigger my card, and I trigger the one behind me, no matter what, and it just felt too simple. So I would much rather it had some requirement around that.
Sure.
As far as some of the cards would have a special ability on them, and mine were pretty lame as far as special abilities. I think you all had more useful ones.
Yeah,
mine
was really cool. I mean, I wish that it allowed me to jump further, because I can only jump to adjacent space, and anybody that knows Hulk can jump. He can jump like a mile away. But what he does is when he lands, he deals damage to everything, and that's how I killed civilians by accident. Is I landed and Hulk smash and boom.
I am kind of surprised. Like mine, I could actually jump to any location on the board and hit.
But there wasn't any penalty for killing civilians.
That's the other thing either. Yeah, I mean,
nobody cared.
Like I killed 4 of them, and it's like, I mean, I didn't get any letters from the family or nothing.
No. So, I mean, it just felt anticlimactic. I mean, it's the thing. And
you would think there would be like a what's the word I'm looking for?
Some kind of penalty.
Penalty for killing a civilian.
We should have paused and had a moment of silence at least for them. But no, it just felt like everything felt like it was just not powerful in this game. Yeah. And that's with this being Marvel, it should be feeling like powerful. Mm-hmm. And then the villain in Kang's case, he had some neat attributes that fit Kang. Like he popped off the board, and then he would pop back on the board at full health, and that made perfect sense. And I like that. I like that they captured that aspect. And I think it's going to be cool seeing what the other villains do, because they're probably going to have similar things that are tailored to their abilities. But basically, you were just taking the themes out and removing that ability from him to make him easier to hit. He would still pop in and out, but he wouldn't heal. And it's like
and the stuff that would have made him hard wasn't that hard to get rid of.
Right.
So I mean, because there's 2 locations that made him invulnerable when he came in. There's 2 locations that gave him full health when he came in, and it was pretty simple to get rid of those spots, so that didn't apply. Yeah,
because all you do is play 3 stars, and you got rid of it.
It's done.
So it just everything about this just felt weak.
Right.
And I even thought that the difficulty level on a game where you could make it a little bit more difficult is just by taking the wild cards.
Yeah.
That's their ability to adjust the difficulty levels. There's the medium, which is you remove the single wild icon.
Because everybody's got a card with 1 single wild, and everybody's got a card with 2 wild.
And then the hard was taking the 2 level one out. And the super hard, can you guess what that is? Take out the 1 and the 2 level. And that was it. It was just, I mean, there was no thought put into that, it felt like. And it was just like, it's all based on, it felt like just these icons that we wanted to make them as simple as possible so that we can mass sell this into, the stores.
I agree with that to a degree, but I do like with the co-op aspect of it, we really didn't take advantage of it a whole lot, but we could talk amongst ourselves a little bit more.
Right.
And we did it a little bit, where it's like, you play this and I can play this, then we can, have a better turn. And, maybe that would be more prevalent with either a harder villain, or maybe if we figure out a way to ramp up the challenge or something where that might become more prevalent. But I did like that aspect.
Yeah, I mean, just as we've discussed before, I'm not a huge co-op fan.
Right.
But if I'm going to play a co-op, I think I should lose more than I win. I don't think we will ever lose this game if we play it on easy or the standard mode. I think you would have to at least take out those wilds to make it where you even stood a chance at losing. Now, we have not tried any of the other villains yet, so it could be that there's some villain like Thanos could be super hard. I don't know, but if it's
he's cute.
Yeah,
because he's cheaty.
Cute Thanos.
Yeah.
So I mean, it could get better. That's the thing. I hope it does. I've heard good things about the Sinister Six set. I've heard good things about that, so I'm eager to try that. I'm not dismissing this game completely. I think it's got some neat attributes. I think the minis are cool. And
you just got to figure out a way to get them painted.
I got to get them painted. So, Vincent, if you're out there watching, this one's for you, bud. All right. So as far as scoring this, what do you think?
I'm very much on the fence because there's parts that I like, there's parts that I didn't like. I don't think I can give it higher than an 8 at the highest. I'm more like a 7.5 because it was just too easy.
Yeah, you're way higher than me. I can tell you that.
But you know, I am one to take a game for what it is. I accept that this feels like a game that is not meant to be a super hard co-op, and because of that, I kind of like that because unlike you, I don't want to go into a game where I know I'm 99% likely to lose, and so I hate that. And so, which is why I don't understand why you don't like Pandemic, because you're going to lose that game. Now, granted, it's all luck based,
exactly.
but at the
What's
same
the
time,
point?
you're going to lose.
I'm
So
wasting
you
40
like losing.
minutes playing a game. I can shuffle the deck, turn it over, and determine if I won or lost.
And
that's why I hate it.
And that's the way I feel about a lot of the co-op games, is that if they're
Exactly.
so hard that I know it's going to be highly unlikely for me to win, why would I waste my time?
Oh, okay. I feel the other way. It's like if I'm going to play a game where it's completely random, why play it? It's just like, you know, I would have more fun playing 52 pickup and just throw the cards on the floor and pick them up.
But so I'm a 7.5.
I would say I like the theme of it. I love the minis. Play was okay. I'd probably give it a 7.
Based upon strictly play, I cannot go above a 5. I just don't enjoy it any more than I would enjoy Catan. I mean, I got it because of the minis.
Right.
I was on the fence about it until they put Vision and Scarlet Witch in, and then I probably should have stayed on the fence of it because of the money I spent on this. But I really like the Vision and Scarlet Witch being in it, and they put Moon Knight and some of the other characters that I like that you don't see very often. So I was like, I'm gonna get it just because of the minis. And you know, that's unfortunately too much. Feels like with Cool Minis or Not, what they focus on is just selling you on the minis, and the gameplay has not been there for a lot of their games. They've had some good ones over time, but very few in modern time.
In your opinion?
In my opinion, yes. I'm not a huge Cool Mini or Not fan in the last few years.
I love Zombicide Black Plague.
Yeah, well, that's one of them that I've heard good things about. Now, I'm not a big zombie fan, so I wouldn't play that one myself, but I've heard good things about that one. And obviously, got the Dogs of War one I really enjoy. But there's not a whole lot that have come out in recent days, and it feels more like it's a cash grab to me.
Oh. You're not the only one that feels that.
Okay.
You can go online and read that.
Yeah.
So 7.5, you said 7.
Yeah, I'm at 4 out of 5
out of 5
on gameplay.
All right. Well,
that's our
anything
assessment.
else?
Marvel United. You know, tell us what you think. I mean, you know, you might have a totally different opinion.
Right, and again, if we get the rules wrong, please don't hesitate to let us know, and that might make all the difference in the world. Maybe
I hope so. I really hope. I hope
we're
we're mistaken somewhere on those crises, because it just felt like there was no.
But yeah, we looked through that rule book and we couldn't find anything.
We even looked online.
Yeah,
I did.
We just couldn't find anything to change it.
And maybe, like I said, maybe some of the other scenarios would be different, but I don't like it when it's totally scenario based.
Right. So, all right. Well.
All right. Until next time, please hit the subscribe if you want to follow along. So give us messages.
Hit the notification
hit
bell.
The notification bell. Yeah.
Make comments on how handsome we are. It'd be great.
Your new haircut.
Because not enough people tell us that. You know, we feed off that. So
Robert really needs like somebody to tell him he looks good. Like at least.
Well, let me do my slow mo here. So.
All right.
So, all right. Well, have a great night, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.